Hey there, folks. So Caitlin Clark will not be included on Team USA's basketball roster for the Summer Olympics. This is according to basketball insiders like Shams Charania. Let's dive into the details. Basketball fans erupted with disappointment when it was reported that Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever rookie, didn't make the Olympic roster for the Games in Paris. She's arguably the most popular women's basketball player in the world right now, and putting her on Team USA would guarantee people pay attention to the games. USA Today's Christine Brennan reported that the concerns about how Clark's millions of fans might react to limited playing time on a stacked roster played a role in the decision. Brennan and sources indicated that the selection committee was worried about the potential backlash from a massive fan base due to her limited playing time. If this is true, it's an extraordinary admission of the tension that this multi-million-dollar sensation has caused for the old guard of women's basketball. It makes no sense to leave her off the team because of fan concerns. Are they worried that her fans would march on Paris demanding more playing time? It's outrageous to think that her fans were a valid reason for her exclusion. I mean, check this out. The 0-11 Washington Mystics hosted their largest crowd in 17 years just because Caitlin Clark was in town. Joe Pompliano posted, Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever drew a sellout crowd of 20,333 fans for tonight's game against the Washington Mystics, the WNBA's most attended game in 17 years. These teams have a combined record of 3-20, and it's the first ever $1 million plus gate for the Mystics. Crazy. And then you have her achieve another historic milestone. ESPN reported that Caitlin Clark is the first player in WNBA history to have 200 points and 75 assists in a player's first 12 career games. And speaking of reactions, Barstool's David Portnoy went on the rant of all rants, and I can't say I disagree with him.
Usual shoes, bang. But this is about Caitlin Clark being left off the Olympic team. How dumb are these women? How dumb? I don't know who's making the decision, Women's Olympic Committee, whatever it is. I don't care if you don't think Caitlin Clark, talent-wise, belongs on this team, even though she does put up 37 of 13, like the most points in the history of the league for a rookie. None of it matters. These women, and I love women. I'm a pro-woman guy, women guy. They complain and they cry about equal rights, equal wages, blah, 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 blah. Hey, dummies. For the first time, like in the history of basketball, you have arguably a player who is the most popular player in the world. Like, you could argue right now, Caitlin Clark is the most talked about, discussed, most popular, most puts asses in the seats, single basketball player in the world. You could argue that. Yeah, you could say maybe LeBron, Luka, whatever you want, but you can argue it. And you leave her off the Olympics team, it's not only a showcase for her, it's for the sport and the other WNBA players who are on this team. How dumb, how brain dead, how idiotic do the people running this thing have to be? It was one thing after another with her. How I at the business part of my brain is like, these people, and maybe it's a guy who did, whoever it is, I don't ever want to hear you complain about flying commercial or not getting salaries or this, that. You're too dumb. You're too dumb. You have a cash cow. This can bring the Olympic basketball, women's basketball will be like the number one thing people watch with Caitlin Clark. As it is, I'd rather watch grass grow. I'd rather watch paint dry. I'd rather watch dirt just be moved around because Caitlin Clark's not on the team. If she's there, it's appointment TV. You people, whoever did this, honestly, hey, take your brain, put it in a museum, and study it for how dumb you are.
He made a great point that if Caitlin Clark only played 7 to 10 minutes per game, it would still bring immense attention and a lot of viewers to the game. It's hard to argue against that. Outkick's David Hookstead detailed beautifully why leaving Caitlin Clark off the Olympic team is unbelievably stupid, saying, how dumb do you have to be to not include the most famous basketball player on the planet? They simply hate her.
As I'm sure many of you have heard by now, Caitlin Clark did not make the women's Olympic team, and I have to say, that's an absolute joke. I mean, how ridiculous is it to leave off the most famous female basketball player in the history of the sport off the women's Olympic team? I don't think the women's Olympic team has lost a game in something like 30 or 40 years. You could send out a college all-star team, they would still win every game by 20 plus points, let alone you put any WNBA players against any other women's team in the world, they're going to absolutely blow them out of the water. Caitlin Clark isn't just the most famous women's basketball player in America. She's one of the most famous athletes in America, period. In fact, other than, I guess, maybe LeBron James, 2 or 3 other NBA players, I don't think there's been a basketball player in the country that's been talked about more than Caitlin Clark. And yet the women's team is apparently so stupid and so unaware of how you get eyeballs on the sport that they left the biggest, most famous player in the game off the Olympic roster. If you put Caitlin Clark on the Olympic roster, women's Olympic basketball immediately overnight becomes must-watch television, just like every other game Caitlin Clark is in. She just played it.
Colin Cowherd also weighed on the issue, pointing out precedents of Christian Laettner making it on the '92 Dream Team as a rookie. He noted that Christian Laettner made the Dream Team. Caitlin Clark can't make the women's Olympic basketball team, asked Cowherd on X. What mostly pays for the Olympics? Oh wait, revenue generated from broadcasting partners, as in TV. As in Caitlin Clark is TV gold. Opportunity wasted. Now let's get into the real issue. Some people argue that Clark isn't on Team USA because Iowa was in the NCAA tournament during the tryouts. While that might be part of the reason, the selection committee considered various other factors including talent, positional fit, and experience. However, it's dumb to hold a training camp during the women's Final Four when potential players are playing, don't you think? Additionally, let's talk about the roster itself, notably Chelsea Gray, who hasn't played since October 2023 and is still in a walking boot with no definitive timetable to return, who made the team. This raises questions about the criteria used for selection. As expected, Clark issued a classy reaction to being left off Team USA.
Caitlin, what was your reaction when you saw the USA team yesterday, the roster come out?
Yeah, I think I'm excited for the girls that are on the team. I know it's the most competitive team in the world, and I know it could have gone either way of me being on the team, me not being on the team. So, I'm excited for them. I'm going to be rooting them on to win gold. I was a kid that grew up watching the Olympics, so it'll be fun to watch them.
What was your level of disappointment not hearing your name on the roster?
Honestly, no disappointment. I think it just gives you something to work for. That's a dream. Hopefully one day I can be there, and I think it's just a little more motivation. You remember that, and hopefully in 4 years, when 4 years comes back around, I can be there.
To wrap things up, whether you think Caitlin Clark should be on Team USA or not, it's clear that putting her on the team would have been a major boost in viewership and interest in the sport. You guys share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to explore more sports insights in our latest and most popular videos.